The drone hum of a helicopter fades in. The screen is a sunlit Target parking lot in North Austin. Suddenly gunshots. A woman stumbles. Then chaos erupts. The day was ordinary, until the moment a violent stranger shattered that calm. Within seconds, lives were extinguished, and in Austin, a community was left reeling. If you want more real crime stories like this one, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next case. It was Monday, August 11, 2025, in North Austin, Texas. The sky was bright, but the air heavy with heat typical for mid-August in central Texas. In the Target-rich parking lot at 8601 Research Boulevard, ordinary routines were underway. Shoppers loaded carts, cars came and went. At around 2:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time, something unthinkable began. Rosa Martinez Machuca, 24, a Target employee, was collecting carts, going about her day. And then, gunfire. Rosa collapsed in the midday glare, a single shot, sudden and merciless. A moment later, another scene unfolded mere yards away. Inside an SUV, 65-year-old Adam Chow sat with his 4-year-old granddaughter on his lap and his wife in the passenger seat. The shooter pulled up, raised a weapon. Rosa's life was snuffed out. Then, another shot. The granddaughter, still unnamed in public records, and her grandfather were both struck. The child died. Adam Chow suffered injuries. His wife, though wounded by glass or debris, survived. The gunman, later identified as 32-year-old Ethan Blaine, Ninecker, did not flee quietly. He carjacked the SUV, launching a flurry of terror across the neighborhood. Crashes, desperate grabs at other vehicles, including a Waymo self-driving car. He threw a brick through a friend's window, as if at war with the ordinary world. Within an hour of those first shots, law enforcement had him in custody, but not before he'd shredded the fabric of a peaceful afternoon. What makes this rampage so haunting isn't just the randomness, but the faces, the disrupted lives, the unseeable trajectories cut short. A young trans woman doing her job, a grandfather protecting his granddaughter. In broad daylight, no sign, no warning. In the next parts, we'll pull back the curtain on their stories, dive into that chaotic afternoon, follow the detectives through the shattered scene, and we'll try to answer the question: how does one man inflict this level of destruction, then vanish into the shadows of a familiar city? Who was Rosa Martinez Machuca beyond her uniform? Who was Adam Chow's granddaughter, unseen by the public? And what did their lives mean to their families? How did a random act of violence ripple outward? Footsteps, glass shards, police radios crackling. How did first responders react? Who is Ethan Blaine Ninecker? The suspect, prior arrests. A tased suspect, naked in a porta potty and proclaiming himself Jesus, according to witnesses. And in the days following, charges unfolded. 2 counts of capital murder, 1 count of first-degree murder, filed on August 12th by APD, yet no trial date, no plea, only a stunned silence. The bullets flew at 2:15 p.m., but by the time officers arrived, the crime scene had already spoken. Who was Rosa Martinez Machuca, and how did one afternoon change the course of so many lives? In the next segment, we step into the world she left behind and into the heart of a family shattered. Rosa was 24. On her name tag, Hector, the legal name on her employment records, but to those who knew her, she was Rosa. A trans woman living in Austin, she had spent the last year trying to build stability, holding down steady work at Target, saving to build a future with her fiancé, Kim Dang. Kim remembers the little things: Rosa's way of laughing through the hard days, her habit of bringing home snacks for her co-workers, the quiet dreams they whispered to each other at night. Friends say Rosa was fiercely loyal, quick to defend someone being mistreated. That Monday, she was simply doing her job, retrieving carts from the sun-baked lot. It was routine. And that's the tragedy. There was nothing about her day that should have put her in danger. Adam Chow was 65, a grandfather, husband, and retired engineer who'd moved to Austin to be closer to family. He had a way of making you feel at ease, his neighbors said, whether you'd lived on the street for 20 years or had just moved in. On August 11th, Adam's SUV sat in the Target lot, his wife in the passenger seat and his 4-year-old granddaughter perched in his lap, giggling, reaching for the steering wheel like children do. That's when the shooter approached. The child's name has not been released, a deliberate choice by her grieving family, but we know she loved dolls, had just started learning to swim, and adored her grandfather. The thought of her last moments, in the arms of someone who loved her most, is almost unbearable. Adam was shot, but survived. His wife sustained only minor injuries, but what she witnessed will mark the rest of her life. Different ages, different backgrounds, yet Rosa, Adam, and the little girl shared something in those last moments. They were going about their ordinary lives, trusting the safety of the public space around them. That's what makes random violence like this so devastating. It robs people not just of life, but of the ordinary rituals that form the backbone of community. The Austin community didn't just mourn, it reeled. Makeshift memorials grew quickly. Flowers left in shopping carts, candles by the cart corral where Rosa fell, a teddy bear in a plastic bag to protect it from rain. Kim Dang returned to the site 2 days later, holding a framed photograph. She told reporters, "I just want people to remember her smile." Adam's family released a short written statement. "We are broken. We thank those who have reached out. Please hold your loved ones close. The weight of their absence lingers in 1,000 quiet ways." Kim now comes home to an empty apartment. Adam's SUV sits in a police impound, a silent witness to what happened. And a Target parking lot, once unremarkable, is now etched into the minds of those who were there as a place where the world tilted on its axis. By 2:15 p.m., their lives had ended or changed forever. But for the man behind the trigger, the violence wasn't over. The Texas heat was relentless, shimmering air above the asphalt, the whir of shopping cart wheels scraping over cracks. Rosa Martinez Machuca was pushing a line of carts back toward the Target entrance when the first shot tore through the soundscape. Witnesses later told police it happened without warning. A man walked toward Rosa, raised a firearm and fired. The report of the gun cracked across the parking lot, bouncing off car windows and stucco walls. Rosa collapsed instantly. Shoppers froze. And then came the second scene of violence. Just a few spaces away, Adam Chow sat in the driver's seat of his SUV. His 4-year-old granddaughter was perched on his lap, her small hands resting on the wheel. His wife was in the passenger seat, talking to him quietly. The shooter approached, weapon still in hand. 2 more shots, quick, deliberate. Adam and the child were both struck. Glass shattered into Adam's wife's lap. As she screamed for help, the gunman yanked the driver's side door open and forced Adam out, sliding into the seat himself. Within seconds, he had stolen the SUV, the child still inside. The stolen vehicle screeched out of the parking lot, tires squealing. 911 calls flooded in. Active shooter target on Research. Dispatchers scrambled units from multiple sectors. Adam's wife managed to pull her husband and granddaughter from the vehicle just before the suspect sped off, but it was too late for the little girl. Paramedics would later confirm her death at the scene. Ninecker didn't get far before the chaos multiplied. Less than 10 minutes after leaving Target, he crashed the stolen SUV into another car. Without hesitation, he fled on foot toward nearby streets. 3 lives taken or forever altered. 2 vehicles stolen, multiple crashes, and an entire city on edge. With the suspect in custody, detectives faced a new challenge, piecing together a rampage that seemed to have no clear motive. The moment Ethan Yernicka was taken into custody on La Casa Drive, the investigation shifted gears. Detectives knew they had minutes, not hours, before physical evidence began to degrade in the summer heat. At the Target parking lot, officers stretched crime scene tape in wide arcs, blocking shoppers from returning to their cars. Shell casings glinted on the pavement. A smear of blood marked where Rosa Martinez Machuca had fallen. Forensic teams photographed, measured, and bagged every scrap of evidence from glass shards to a dropped soda bottle. A separate unit began cataloguing the contents of the stolen SUV, now damaged from the crash. Detectives started by piecing together the rampage's exact sequence. The 911 logs told a story in jagged fragments. 2:15 p.m., first shots reported at Target. 2:20 p.m., carjacking of Adam Chow's SUV. 2:29 p.m., crash involving the stolen vehicle. 2:31 p.m., attempted entry into multiple cars, including a Waymo. 2:40 p.m., second stolen car reported. 2:55 p.m., brick thrown through acquaintance's home window. Just after 3 p.m., suspect apprehended in South Austin. The handgun recovered from the arrest scene was sent to the state lab. Within hours, ballistics confirmed it matched shell casings found at the Target lot. The weapon was traced to a private sale, no serial number recorded, no paper trail. Blood analysis tied the weapon directly to both Rosa and Adam's granddaughter. Prosecutors would later call this irrefutable physical evidence. On August 12, APD Chief Joseph Chacon held a press conference. Flanked by homicide detectives, he called the shooting a senseless random act of violence. He confirmed Nineka faced 2 counts of capital murder and 1 count of first-degree murder, with additional charges pending. When asked about motive, Chacon was blunt. "We may never have a satisfactory answer to why this happened. The evidence was overwhelming, but the courtroom is its own battleground, and even the most airtight case can face unexpected turns." On August 12, 2025, less than 24 hours after the rampage, the Travis County District Attorney's Office filed 2 counts of capital murder for the deaths of Rosa Martinez Machuca and Adam Chow's granddaughter. They also added 1 count of first-degree murder for the death of Adam himself, though his survival at the scene would later adjust that charge to an aggravated assault count, pending medical updates. In Texas, capital murder carries the possibility of the death penalty, and prosecutors didn't hide that they were weighing it. Ethan Blaine, Nineka's first court appearance was brief. Shackled, wearing a county jail jumpsuit, he stood before a judge and barely spoke. Jail records listed no attorney at the time. A court-appointed defense lawyer was expected to take the case. Prosecutors requested that Nineka remain held without bond, citing the extreme violence and ongoing danger to the community. The judge agreed. Even in the earliest days, the question of Nineka's mental state loomed over the proceedings. His erratic behavior during arrest, emerging naked from a porta potty, declaring himself Jesus, suggested a severe break from reality. Sources close to the defense told local reporters they were likely to pursue a mental health evaluation. In Texas, a successful insanity defense is rare, but it can alter the course of a trial, potentially replacing a death penalty case with long-term psychiatric confinement. The state's case would be straightforward: ballistics linking Nineka's handgun to the fatal shots, eyewitness testimony from survivors and bystanders, surveillance and traffic camera footage showing the crime spree. As of August 15, 2025, the investigation remained active. Prosecutors were still awaiting certain forensic lab results and a full psychiatric assessment. No plea had been entered, no trial date was set. But behind the closed doors of the Travis County Courthouse, both sides were preparing for a battle that could last years, one that would test the limits of Texas law on mental illness, public safety, and capital punishment. For the families, the court filings were only the beginning. The loss was already permanent, but the question remained, what would justice look like for a man who left so much destruction in his wake? In the days after August 11, 2025, Austin looked different. The same parking lot where the violence began was now a memorial, flowers resting inside shopping carts, candles flickering against the night air, handwritten cards weighted with stones. People who had never met Rosa Martinez Machuca or Adam Chow's granddaughter came to stand in silence. Some cried. Some just stood with heads bowed, shaking their heads as if trying to reconcile the ordinariness of the space with the horror it had hosted. Kim Dang, Rosa's fiancée, became the most visible voice in the weeks following. She spoke to local reporters about Rosa's humor, her courage in living openly as a trans woman, and her dreams for a small wedding they'd been planning. Kim insisted on correcting every news outlet that defaulted to Rosa's legal name. That wasn't who she was, she told Kayut. She was Rosa, and she was mine. Friends have since set up a scholarship fund in her name. aimed at supporting young trans women in Austin seeking education or job training. The Chow family held a private funeral for Adam's granddaughter, attended by close relatives and family friends. They kept the details shielded from media to protect her memory, but shared a few words through their pastor. "She left us laughing, she left us loved." Adam, recovering from his injuries, has spoken only sparingly, but in one moment captured by a neighbor's phone, he was seen placing a teddy bear at the memorial site, whispering something too soft for the camera to catch. The rampage stirred debate at Austin City Hall. Council members and activists began pushing for stricter protocols on firearm transfers, especially private sales that leave no record. Mental health advocates argued for more aggressive intervention measures when individuals show repeated signs of crisis, pointing to Nineker's prior arrests and history as missed warning flags. Still, any policy change will take months or years. For many, the immediacy of the loss is too raw to be comforted by legislative promises. In the weeks after, strangers became allies. Target employees organized a fundraiser for the victims' families, raising thousands in just days. Local artists painted murals, one of Rosa, smiling with the faint outline of a shopping cart behind her, another of a child's hand holding a grandfather's. The message in both was clear. These were more than crime victims. They were part of Austin's living fabric. The investigation may be solved with a suspect in custody, but the city is left with questions that trials rarely answer. Why that day? Why those people? Could it have been stopped? For some, the answers won't come from courtrooms or evidence logs. They'll come, if at all, from the slow private work of grieving and remembering. A Target parking lot, a grandfather's arms, a young woman pushing carts under the Texas sun. 3 ordinary moments, all consumed by one man's violence. Austin will heal, but it will not forget. And for the families, justice will mean more than a verdict. It will mean keeping the names of their loved ones alive. Pause. Soft fade to black. Do you think justice can ever be complete in a case like this? Let us know in the comments.